Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Esports Speaker Series presented by the University of Kentucky Federal Credit Union. My name is Thomas Bailey, and today I'll be joining Kevin Hoang as we discuss esports, Twitch, and everything else the industry has to provide. The Esports Speaker Series aims to bring in distinguished industry and academic guests from esports, gaming, and related technologies, and this series takes place on the first Thursday of each month. Kevin, it's great to have you here. How are you feeling?
I'm good. It's been a crazy week, I'm sure, for everybody here in the chat. But I'm excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Really is a pleasure to have you. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Twitch as a partnerships account manager.
Yeah, so I guess I've been at Twitch for now over 3 years now, and the role has changed significantly as I joined Twitch initially to launch the Twitch student program when it was still a concept, a student idea internally at the company. So that was really cool to kind of get in right during the inception of it. Um, from there, it shifted between social media to now partnerships, and now partnerships and product. Um, so it's quite startup-y and now like a pretty big company. So yeah.
That's good to hear. I heard you mentioned a little bit about your collegiate background. Let's take a step back and kind of get into that a little bit. You were the co founder and president of the University of Washington Gaming Association. Tell me a little bit about how that process went and what you took out of
So an overall gaming club, the difference between what UW had at the time versus what you've seen at Triton Gaming or UBC Esports and all these other great clubs was that University of Washington had about 15 gaming clubs, which was not, um, which was very fragmented, and it wasn't doing uh the it wasn't doing the student it wasn't servicing every student because because as an example, if I played League of Legends and I'm tabling outside um in the middle of my campus, the Dota players or other mobile players would walk by my table and would just ignore me because they just didn't play League of Legends, as an example. I just felt like we weren't inclusive enough for all gaming, and we should not be organized by the games we play, but our shared values of being shared values of just enjoying gaming as a whole. So through TESPA, I learned uh, how to create a gaming association on campus, and then that's how I got my start in starting the Washington Gaming Association, which aggregated like the 15 clubs that we had at that time. So that was like about 5,000 students. So that was a weird like 2016 for me. That was through Heroes of the Door. Kind of lucky.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge starting number for a club. I know even though esports is getting really big at the University of Kentucky, we're not pulling those kind of numbers yet, but that's what we're aiming to do. It's interesting that you note about pulling those different clubs together. Back when we formed our club, that was another thing that happened. You
Yeah.
almost had to kind of absorb together a bunch of different clubs with a common mindset because we started to realize esports wasn't just for competitive gamers. It's kind of for everyone. There's a business side to it, there's analytics, and that's kind of what UK's aiming to do here is kind of building the program up from every aspect of esports.
Yeah, and that's kind of where when we talk about gaming as a whole, esports is about 5, 7 titles ish, very heavy PC base, and I just felt like we were inclusive enough by just the amount of titles that we talked about. And that was like a fundamental name. And it's not to stop anyone from liking one game more than another. It's just to say, hey, like if you just like games, like be part of the club. And that's a better place to start than like I only want to talk to you if you play League of Legends. So that was it's been nice seeing that.
So you mentioned a little bit you got into esports mainly through League of Legends. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about your competitive gaming background. Obviously, you were a player for UW with League of Legends, but you also were a coach with them and an analyst for Team Solo Mid. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so I guess like to back that up, I was doing global finance for Microsoft before I got into gaming esports. Um and I was doing that in college, and then during season 2 League of Legends, that's when I discovered that's when I realized that I really want to get into gaming and esports. Was because of the League of Legends World Finals against Azubu Frost versus TPA.
Mm.
That was like the momentum push for me. For some reason, I decided to get really good at League of Legends. Like that's I don't I don't know why I decided like to spam league games, but for some reason I got to I got into top 14 challenger team during rank fives, and we were trying to qualify for the challenger series. But that dream died when we didn't, and so I had to pivot. And um, I saw that university Wash like UW Esports was a thing at that time. It was like a brand new club at that time, and then I joined as a coach because I was top 14 challenger. I was like, and I did numbers for a living, so I was like, maybe there's some analytical skills that can be applied to coaching and UW. So got the role as a coach. But West Coast was rough, man. Like college League of Legends, West Coast is rough, especially for the Northwest region. It's just like UBC, Simon Fraser, UW. It's just really brutal. So we were top 3 or 4 when I was a coach, and then after we didn't qualify for college League of Legends, TSM had a position that was opening for an analyst role during season 5 when Yellowstar joined the roster. So I just applied, and I was able to just get in and did a spring split. Um, so yeah, that was quite wild. During TSM, I was mostly doing I was a jungler analyst, so I just kind of monitored early jungling as a remote job in college. So yeah,
For everyone at home, Kevin isn't lying when he talks about the California powerhouse schools out there out west.
Northwest
Some
powerhouse,
Yeah,
Northwest.
absolutely, absolutely. So to someone that may not be as familiar with collegiate esports or competitive esports, how necessary is a coach for a video game? Some people don't really understand what the role that plays, and is that actually a viable career for some?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I definitely think coaches are needed to one sit and be the one that can manage the feelings and the like help players express their emotions, their thoughtfulness, um their behavior in and out of the game as a team player. That's critically important for long-term success for any esports program. And and sometimes like coaches now, I think uh I think that's kind of where is to help with the overall team mindset. Usually the top programs are the coaches um might be former LCS and all that stuff, but I'm that that has a very low amount, like that's not every school can have like the top coach or not, but I think any coach can be uh can come in and help uh the players um have a better to have the to focus on the player mindset and help with the overall team dynamic, and be the mediator between the team, the players, and the league and the school themselves, and helping them become the best, like, channeling, giving the players a platform to have the best environment to compete at, while also maintaining their grades to become the best student as possible while doing these things. Um, so I think that's why coaches are important, but I also think it's important to note that as we're growing, um, coaches should be focused on that. There's coaches that are doing a lot of dual roles right now, where they're the coach but also the program director, where they have to like, do the budgeting, but also like do recruiting, to do club growth, helping the gaming clubs on campus succeed as well, helping with live events on campus. There's a lot of things that are added on to the coach's role where they're doing like multiple different jobs. Because I think it's exciting, but also like something to point out that coaches have a lot of responsibilities that are outside of just coaching right now.
Absolutely. So now that we have a little bit of background on your experiences with esports, I kind of want to focus on your role right now. Um, Being the partnerships account manager for Twitch, what exactly do you do in that position? How do you connect with these high schools and these colleges and connect them to a platform like Twitch?
Yeah, so when we initially started, it was really just closing the literacy gap around gaming and esports. So, ton of schools approach us, or we work with when schools approach us, or when we engage with the school, it's just helping them understand that it's not just playing video games. And just kind of like, you go from like a dean or a vice president or a chancellor or president of a school. Their first step to understanding gaming esports might be Fortnite because their son or daughter, niece, nephew, whoever is playing, and they just think it's just playing Fortnite with like Ninja or something, right? Um, that's and that's just the very surface level. But we have to explain to them that gaming esports is a medium to unlock educational opportunities for young people, especially now when like I think it's over 70% of young people are playing games. I think it was like 90%. It is a great way to meet students where they are while focusing on ways to build community, career, and competition. So that's kind of how we work with and engage with universities. At the same time, we've also been helping build curriculum and classes around gaming and esports. So one thing that I really like doing is the streaming class I was talking to you earlier about. Just helping, not to say that everyone's going to be the next big like streamer. That's not the goal of the class, but it is. It would be cool to see a streamer making a full time living or something through the classes and curriculum that they were part of, or if they got their start there or through their gaming club or even doing these streams, right? Um, it's more or less to help students understand the business of content creation because we're surrounded by it. Not on Twitch, not entirely on Twitch, but on YouTube, Netflix, whatever, like Instagram, TikTok. Like it's important to understand the business behind it because if you work in entertainment, you have to understand and be aware of that world. If not, if you don't want to be in entertainment or if you don't do that side of the business, it's also just good to be aware because everyone's on devices and everyone's consuming content.
Completely agree. We live in a content driven world. Every
Yeah.
technology kind of drives a lot of what we do, and Twitch is just another step within that.
Mhm.
So, going off of that educational institutes portion, do you believe all educational institutions should be creating these type of esports programs or streaming programs, or do you think it mainly applies to colleges or high schools, or should we even be going back further? Where do you think these kind of programs fall?
Um, I think that's not just for me. Like I don't have. I'm just here to help. My whole philosophy has always been. I feel like we can have a. I feel like more young people need. I think why schools building this is important, like the educational institutions building gaming esports program is important, is because it helps students validate their dreams.
Mhm.
Um, because when you talk about um, nothing's more powerful when like a parent sees their kid getting maybe a scholarship, maybe taking classes around streaming. When the school is endorsing it, the parents kind of sign off on it, like
Yeah, it's
it
almost a
makes
sense
the
of validity.
conversation at home a lot easier. um so I think that's why this is important. Like, and then the quantitative, results are there, showing that increased participation rates, higher grades, all those things. I think you're we're hitting something there where students feel like they they're being met, like they have something that they can be like, oh, I'm looking forward to this class, or I'm looking forward to attending my gaming esports club. Oh, I better go to class because I don't want to miss practice. you
Mhm.
know it's just another vehicle to meet students where they are. Um so if you want to go like down, like build K through 12 programs, um I mean, Minecraft Education has done a tremendous job doing that in the last like almost a decade now. So um, I mean, like, yeah, it's like 8 years of Minecraft Education or something. So like, we have seen games being brought to the classroom, and it has worked. So
So, as you've been developing these programs within institutions, have you noticed any common missed opportunities where these schools could be utilizing Twitch better?
Um, not Twitch. I think we're also trying to figure out like what does a university on Twitch mean, right? Like it's changing every year. So we're constantly making mistakes there. Like it's not really a missed opportunity. We just kind of um I think we ourselves need to have a faster feedback loop and helping universities um mobilize uh more efficiently. Uh And I think the couple when I talk to schools, I think what makes the most sense right now is the idea that Twitch can be the future college radio station or the like newspaper rooms or all those things. Um, that could be a great way to bring other students who are not competing at the highest level to learn production, to learn social, to learn casting, to learn hosting, commentation, commentary, and everything that goes in between of running a live stream. I think that could be an avenue for success to be able to create more bridges for students. Um, two is missed opportunity as a whole. I've seen I think universities can improve in listening to their gaming clubs. I think sometimes the answers are in front of them. I think sometimes the I mean most of the times students know what they want. They just haven't be able to, maybe articulate in the best way or anything. But like, I think, I think it's important to listen to them because uh, the energy and what they've like college esports started because of clubs, right? So I I think we've seen so many different clubs just like produce incredible amount of things, and I feel like we shouldn't lose tone of that as we become more institutionalized. I think there it's a two-way street.
Couldn't agree more. Luckily, we've gotten been very blessed with the assistance UK has provided our club and the information we're able to provide them and kind of direct them with this esports initiative. Let's go back to what you talked about there for a little bit. You talked about making esports and streaming more related to maybe a school ran newspaper or radio. What can institutions be doing to help cultivate this individual talent? Maybe they have students that are already streaming and might be pretty popular. I know streamers, people are getting younger and younger and starting younger and doing this as they go throughout college and into their careers. What can these institutions be doing to help cultivate that nature?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So one is providing facility and maybe work study hours, convert work study jobs to production. Like two is uh just kind of like how you would use a video room, like to edit like your video class or using Photoshop or whatever. Maybe convert part of your gaming esports facility to have dedicated streaming booths. So students who want to learn to stream on their own channel could go use the school facility as if they were using their own video production room. Right. I mean, that could be a value add to the space. But two, if you want to formalize it, I think we go back to the radio idea where like, hey, we are working as a team. Your job is to produce a show for the school. Um, just like how you learn how to do journalism, media, broadcasting, and those things, but apply it to the gaming esports space. So I think that could be a good starting point. Um, but yeah, I think even like having classes and curriculum around streaming 101 could be also a good starting point because like if you're if you're like a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, or whatever, right? You're just kind of like trying to fill in your general electives to get to pass. You know, you scroll through your class and you're like, oh my god, I'm panicking. I'm gonna um I want to sign up for this class. Like, oh my gosh, like what could be fun? Oh, look, streaming. Like, cool. I'm interested. Right. It's definitely something I think I would just click and be like, "Oh, what I wanna just read it." And I think that's a start.
I think it definitely is an avenue for a lot of college students, especially like you said, if they're just looking for a class, maybe they might have a slight interest in something they're hoping to cultivate within themselves. I think that's a great opportunity. So
Yeah,
Kevin,
like
you've
one
been
of yeah.
sorry,
Sorry,
go ahead.
yeah, so like one of the first classes I've heard about this was like back in like 2012 where Berkeley had the economics of StarCraft
Mm.
class. Like even I mean game studies and all that stuff been around. So um I think that's when I first heard of like a class around video games. Like as I was like graduating high school, um, I was like, wow, you can like learn StarCraft in at Berkeley and learn the mechanics, like the economy of StarCraft. That was quite interesting. But yeah, sorry, just want to add to that point.
That's all good. That's a great point. More schools too are beginning to add those types of classes. Obviously, that one, an economy focused one, people are now coming at it from a communication standpoint, business,
Sure.
engineering, all that kind of stuff. So you've been quoted as saying, "People get complacent, always be hungry." How has a statement like that been real in your own life as you build a personal brand in this space and also pushing to build the Twitch community and that partnership with universities?
What was the last part?
So, how has the statement like that been real in your own life as you're building your own personal brand, and then as also as you're connecting Twitch to these universities and trying to build that program?
Yeah, and I think like so especially like I come place like in a space that is so evolving. I think and my mentor Garvey says this a lot where this industry moves in dog years.
Mm,
um it's just changes so fast, so complacency and resting on your laurels and all those things are like being an edge lord is 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 having that mindset where you're like you want to like you think you're okay with where things are. I think that kind of mindset um is is I guess it's like it's more like it's I feel like we could do a lot more, like we just got started. Like like institutionalization of college esports is about 5 years old. Like we just had the first graduating class at Robert Morris and UCI. Like we barely scratched the surface to understand where we are right now.
mm,
So I think for me, in my approach to this, even like to build my own personal brand or like or work with schools and universities, there's a lot of great ideas that come from conversations with schools, right? As I get older, as I'm like not as schools as in administrators and clubs, especially clubs too, where like no, me like it was only a couple years ago that I was in college,
mm.
right? And that has changed dramatically the space, right? So I can't just like use my past experiences as like the ultimate truth, as their truths are are like I have to listen and shut up and listen and more than ever. Uh there's a lot of times where we get like there's the term like old guard and like all those people like I really hope that I am not that viewed that way. I feel like I have to absorb as much information as possible and always challenge what I think in order to build on something so new, right? Because how do I have answers when this is only 5 years old, right? And this is like we can model like sports and all those things as much as we want, but this is entirely its own thing. Um, and I think we would be selling ourselves short by modeling it at past things, right? This didn't exist 12 years ago. Live streaming and like being a content creator and all this stuff, like like scholarships to play video games, like while like having the internet technology, like having smartphones that like oh, this is all new, and it's transforming the way people engage. So I hope I will never be that person that will always have an answer to things, and I think that's my mindset going into it.
Well, that mindset has obviously helped you build a pretty staunch resume. You are an advisory board member for California State University, kind of helping them out. What are your thoughts on how fall 2020, with all the changes that are happening, could be another accelerator for community building through video gaming and esports?
Yeah, so the advisory boards I'm on are the Cal State Entertainment Alliance, which is all Cal State campuses on all things entertainment. And the second one is the UCI Leadership Board,
Mhm.
um, UCI Esports Leadership Board. I think right now, with the way 2020 is shaping, um, it's more important than ever to have empathy in the workplace. And I talk a lot about empathy on my own personal streams and my Twitter and all that stuff. Um, why I talk about empathy, especially now when it comes to building programs and being adaptive and all those things, is addressing gaps that we see in our space and not being tone deaf about it. Um, and that comes with listening. That comes with making sure the college clubs are being heard. That comes with having meetings between faculty, clubs, parents, industry, moving forward because uh, people have been saying we're all in this together and stuff, but this is what that means and how we go out and out and about it. Um, I guess like the challenges of today is understanding what students are going through for me. So I
Mhm.
posted in my own personal Discord of like, hey, like tell me how COVID has impacted your school, your situation. Because I can't know. I can read about it like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, like tuition rates are going up or like students are just studying from home. I'm like, there are people in my Discord that don't have internet at home or don't have the technology to compete this season, right? These are gaps that I would not know about. Well, I might know, but it comes more authentically when it comes from the person that's actually living it. Um, so just for me right now, it's just soaking it all in and learning. I think that's the best I could do right now. I don't have the answer. I've never navigated through a pandemic before.
Mhm.
You being a club president, I said at the beginning of this call when we had the rehearsal was like, "Holy crap, you're doing this as a college club president right now!" Like, I want to know like what that's like because it's totally different from when I was a club president. So, yeah.
Yeah, COVID obviously throwing a wrench in the plans of many clubs and many universities. All we can do is, like you said, just kind of take it day by day and just kind of try to work through it and try to develop our own plans. So it's really good to hear that you've been able to have a perspective on that and that you're able to advise multiple groups in California on how they can help navigate this new space. So, on a little bit more of a lighthearted note, let's go a little bit back more into your gaming past. Do you remember the first game that got you interested in gaming as a whole?
I've always played games on the console, but I
Mhm.
think what blew me away was RuneScape. I
Oh,
think
okay.
logging into RuneScape at 5th grade after discovering this thing called the internet, I launched like what was Mozilla Firefox used to be called? Like I
Oh,
forgot. It was just like
I don't
Netscape,
even know.
Netscape.
Mm.
It was called Netscape. You go like Netscape, you open up Netscape, and then you go RuneScape.com, and then like the music starts playing. You log into world. I think the world I was on was World 13. I log in, and I'm like, I think it was called Lumbridge was the starting zone, and then I'm just like, holy crap! These are all real people. Like, what do you who are these? Like, these are real people. They can like actually kill me if I enter the wilderness. Like, that's crazy. I'm like, well, how do I level up? How do I do this? So that kind of really that's where I first got scammed. Like, I thought people were like all nice and like just like in class and stuff. No, I got my first scam on the internet, right? So I think that's what kind of really got me hooked on the internet and games and those things.
I'm sure a lot of your viewers and a lot of our audience have very similar stories getting into gaming. I can remember myself in the computer lab flash games back when those
Oh
were
yes.
all the rage.
Newgrounds and, like,
Oh,
addictinggames.com, those things.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one last question before we let you go. Looking at esports now from a broadcast perspective, do you think live television broadcasting should be the future for esports, or should the scene focus more on streaming services such as Twitch?
Um, I mean, if you talk about access, like like the world is like people Gen Z and Gen A are growing up never experiencing chords.
Hmm,
Chords is we're no longer cord cutters. We are cord never had society now. Cord never had is you've never had to plug in anything to get
yep,
something to work. Um, so I think when it comes to like accessibility, getting more people in this space, um, I think it's important to be to get the most affordable devices in the household, in the classroom, and all those things. And with that being said, then w- definitely going more the digital media internet route. So like services like Twitch, YouTube, uh, those things are gonna it's gonna always trend upwards. Um, then two is we got to talk about the games we play too.
mhm,
Um, I did say before where like esports was like very top heavy PC game focus. um, I think in America, especially, we've kind of looked down on mobile games and mobile esports. Uh, to for a good reason. A lot of them are gachas, and they want
yeah,
to make it doesn't feel like a fair, balanced playing field. But that's changing. Um, that's changing with games like TFT, um, Wild Rift, the
yep,
PUBG Mobile, Free Fire. There's games out there like Fortnite too that are not like that in terms of like just pay to win. Um, but that's what I'm excited about is if if mobile can be a game changer when it comes to getting more people into this space. Um, but also cloud gaming technologies like you said on Stadia, Shadow.tech, GeForce Now is going to level that is going to make that barrier to entry to PC games. Um, uh, is going to decrease that barrier for PC games where you don't have to spend $1,500 to play games with your friends anymore, or $1,000 on a laptop or whatever. Um, That's exciting to me, and that all requires the internet, right? So Wi-Fi, like all those things I just mentioned, with devices, the hardware costs going down, internet costs being as affordable is getting more affordable as it is, while content for mobile games is becoming less pay to win, and also cloud technology to close that gap. I think you have a pretty good formula uh on why schools should stay to keep investing in gaming esports programs.
yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you talked about gaming becoming a lot more accessible for a variety of people. Even non-traditional gamers might be playing mobile games on their phone, and those as these mobile games become less pay to win, there's a lot of opportunities there for folks to get involved in esports or in content consumption. So, is there anything upcoming that you'd like to let our viewers know about, or any closing thoughts you have?
Um, I would say no. Shout out to Thomas. I mean, we met only about like an hour ago. Um, I'm excited for you
Thank you.
and your journey being the new president here. It is definitely a wild ride. Being like you being able to do this is pretty excuse my French, badass. So keep at it. Like this is really sick to see that you're here doing this. So I wish you best of luck. Please stay safe. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. It was a pleasure to have you out. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. But before we go, we have an interview we'd like to mention. I'd like to share the link to an interview we did with Miss Kishana Gray 2 weeks ago about her experience as a woman of color in gaming. The challenges our society continues to face also extend into our online worlds, and we hope this interview expands people's perspectives as we strive to understand each other better and eliminate hate and inequality that exists in our worlds, both physical and virtual. So, one more thing we also wanted to let you know about is our July 2nd Esports Speaker Series event, also presented by University of Kentucky Federal Credit Union. This time, we'll be joined by University of Kentucky gaming researcher Anthony Limperos as he gives us a quick history of the gaming industry before he dives into a deep discussion of research into the effects of violence in gaming. Lastly, I just want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in. Always remember, you can get more information at uky.edu/esports and follow us and subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/University of KY. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.